It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Well, Miss Rusty, what's up, everyone? It is Monday, show number 2 for today. It's going to be a shortened week today. There's only going to probably be shows, I believe, on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week. So you're getting them coming now. I think there should be one of these episodes tomorrow and then one on Wednesday. That should be it. And so you guys get an easy week. You don't have to see me that much or hear me that much, however you're taking this in. So thank you everyone for being here on the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN. I think I said I'm your host, Rusty Diamond. If you don't know that, you guys call in and leave a message. That'd be cool. You can do that. I'll play it on the show. It's easy, easy, easy. All you gotta do is just call in, leave a message. 503-974-6420. Leave a message, or maybe you don't like leaving messages.
Messages? Messages? We don't leave no stinking messages!
And maybe you're like that guy. So maybe not everyone likes leaving messages. That's cool too. So if you don't want to, you don't have to. Just listen along, watch along, however you want to take it in. Maybe one day it'll be AR and I will be wherever you want me to be. Don't make me do anything too weird though with this augmented reality because you can. Just because you can doesn't mean you need to. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I have a special guest today, and my special guest is right here and right now. Here and right here, right now, we have Rachel Carter. And there she is. How you doing, Rachel?
Hello. I'm good. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm doing great. It's Monday, so means
Yes.
it's a good day. I like my Mondays. Always excited when a Monday shows up. Not that there's really days off, but Monday is always good. I enjoy getting to not have to complain about Monday.
There
And
you go.
it's
Get it out of the
yeah,
way.
yeah. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's good. It's a fun day and I get to get back to when everybody else is working. So I can go and give people the work that have off weekends and let that stuff get done that I've been waiting for someone else to do. So,
Yeah.
you know, um, that's kind of how it works out. And so you're, I think you said you're near Portland, correct? Is that right?
I am. Yeah, I'm in Milwaukee, so just south of
Milwaukee.
Portland.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because we were talking about it a little bit, and I was trying to remember exactly where it was. But okay, so yeah, Milwaukee. Not. I don't know if the Milwaukee came from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or do you know the story?
I read about it once upon a time when I first moved to Milwaukee, and yes, there is a link. It's the same name, basically, um, but they decided to change the spelling. Eventually, for a while, Milwaukee, Oregon was an EE, and then they switched it back and forth for a while, and then they finally decided to stick with the IE spelling to, I guess, differentiate us from the other Milwaukee.
Yeah, which is Algonquin for the good land.
Right.
Uh,
Which
but
obviously we
I'm
don't have Algonquin here, so
right,
we definitely we kind of stole the name from the original Milwaukee.
right. Like well, like Portland as well.
Exactly. Coin toss.
There you go. Yeah, coin toss. It could have been Boston. Could have been Boston,
Exactly.
Oregon, and
Yeah.
that'd have been odd. Been pretty odd. I haven't been to Portland, Maine yet, so maybe someday I'll head out there. There's a Portland, Connecticut here, and it's bizarre. They have signs up there that what did it say? It was like it was like Portland support our police or something to that effect, which was odd. As which, I had to, of course, share to friends back home and like, wait a
Right.
minute. I'm like, well, okay, this is Portland. So
Yeah, yeah.
um yeah,
Totally
a
different Portland.
little different Portland, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah. But yeah, it's Milwaukee, yeah, great place.
Yeah, I love it here.
Always, yeah, up and coming area. It's so how much of Portland is coming down into there now? Is there still a little bit of a separation or
It's not really, honestly. It's pretty much we used to live closer to the Milwaukee-Portland border, and it really was just like one side of the street was Milwaukee and the other side was Portland in that particular area of town. Um, Now I guess I technically live in unincorporated Clackamas County, but I still consider
Ooh,
myself in Milwaukee.
yeah.
Um, so half my mail comes to Portland there, because they don't exactly know what to call my area. But yeah, it's getting pretty muddled where they meet together. So
Uh, Us I before I moved, I was in unincorporated Clackamas County as well, but yeah, I was out in well, it was I guess technically it would have been like Damascus, but
okay,
uh Damascus is no longer anything. Damascus, I forgot when it was. I want to say it was maybe around 2015 or so. There was a whole bunch of corruption within the city, and they decided to just it was so bad they just closed the whole city
oh,
down and just
interesting.
went into boring. So
Oh, I had not heard that.
yeah, I hadn't either until I was living there, and then um yeah, I found out that okay, so I guess I was living in boring, but the address still said Damascus, but
Yeah.
there's no Damascus post office anymore, no
Okay.
Damascus city hall, but yeah, it seemed that the border right there. I mean, you tell someone you live in Milwaukee from Portland, they're starting to know, people are starting to know Milwaukee. Um, it used to be like 10 years ago, you told someone you lived in Milwaukee or Lake Oswego or Tigard or, one of those places, they'd have no clue, never heard of the place. And
Yeah.
now it seems it's
It's
a little,
definitely yeah, people seem to recognize it. It's funny though, because when we first moved here, and that was 13 years ago, somewhere around there, and we were living in Beaverton at the time,
oh,
so
okay.
across the river. Um, and I would tell people, "Oh yeah, we bought a house in Milwaukee. We're moving to Milwaukee." And most of the people I told would be like, "Ew, why?" And I was just like, "Excuse me."
Yeah.
Every town's gonna have its, good areas and bad areas, but I found Milwaukee incredibly charming. And since we moved here, anytime I say, "Oh, I'm from Milwaukee," the attitude has completely changed. And now people are like, "Oh, I love Milwaukee. It's so cute." And, so clearly there used to be a stigma against Milwaukee, and now it's gone, or, for the most part, it's gone. So I just found that rather interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, even just the downtown area in the
Yeah, oh, yeah.
last
It's amazing. Yeah.
10 years and then ever since they brought in that Max line, whenever that, I
Mhm.
don't even know when that was. That's probably 10 years ago, somewhere in there that they brought
Somewhere
that in.
between 5 and 10, I can't remember exactly, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was around for a minute before I left. And yeah, I mean, that's all just, yeah, could be 5 years, could be 10 years. I don't know,
Right. Yeah.
somewhere sort of in there. Uh, And so, yeah, you went out to Milwaukee and yeah, made it out there. And then, were you already writing before you were in Milwaukee, or was Milwaukee your muse?
Well, So I've been trying to be a writer for most of my adult life, but
What does that mean?
it just, I would get story ideas and I would sit down and write like a chapter or two, and then life would get in the way, and I would put it aside and never revisit it. But in the back of my mind, I was always like, I would love to be an author. Like that is a dream of mine. So I think I was still in Beaverton when I got the idea for the book series that I'm working on right now. And again, that was probably 15, 14 years ago, something like that, when I first got the idea. But then, I got married and I started a family. And so between babies and, other life changes, I would work on my idea in fits and starts. So I'd write a couple chapters and then I would like put it away for a couple of years, but the entire time be thinking about it
Oh,
and
okay,
like,
so you're still working
you know,
on it.
yeah. So finally, about 5 years ago, I got serious and I was like, okay, now is the time to finish this book because I had most of it written. And this was the farthest I'd ever gotten with one of my projects. And like I said, this idea had been living in my head rent free for years and years. So I finally was just like, nope, I'm gonna get it written. And I did. And then I let it sit for another couple of years after that because, fear of putting myself out there. And finally I let one of my friends read it, and she loved it and was like, you have to publish this. And so I still waited a little bit longer, but finally, January 1st of 2022, so New Year's Day, I woke up and I was like, you know what? I need to do this. I need to get this out. So it had already been written, um, but it still needed to be professionally edited and everything. So I took it upon myself I gave myself a deadline of my birthday for that year, which is
Which is when?
end of April. End of
Okay,
April. So I gave myself almost 5 months, basically.
that's pretty short time.
It's a very short time frame, yes.
Yeah,
But
how
I found an
long?
editor. I did all the things, and I published a week before my birthday. So I
How
did
long?
it.
How many pages is that?
It's 300 and some change. It's the first one's around 92,000 words, I believe. So,
Okay, because the
yeah.
guy I was talking to this morning was saying that his first book was like 140 pages and took him a year for
Yeah.
editing back and forth. And I've heard a lot of people say a lot of other things for editing. So you must have had it pretty well
I had
uh,
it pretty well locked down. I
meant.
did a number of self-edits myself, before I sent it off to my editor, and, she still had some decent changes, but nothing significant.
Wow.
She told me it was a relatively clean manuscript. Um, so yeah, and then I hired a cover artist and, did the formatting myself and got it out into the world. The second book took me way less time. Again, I started writing it before I'd even published the first one. So it was mostly done by the time I published the first one. And so I was able to get that one out in November of 2022. Um, but my third book just came out in June, and it took me about a year to from start to finish. It took about a year to get it out there. So that's kind of my time frame for books now, apparently.
So were you in the mindset of them, your publisher or editor saying, this is not what it needs to be at all. I'm gonna like destroy this and not destroy it, but that
Yeah,
wasn't a
take away
thought in your
your
head.
yeah, no,
You're
so
gonna,
the reason that I decided to self-publish, one of the reasons, was that I did want to keep the creative control over my series. I had from the beginning, I had a 4-book series planned. I had kind of things mapped out in my head as to what I wanted to happen in each of the books. Um, And I have heard quite a few horror stories from people who are traditionally published where they have an idea, they have books planned out, they get the first one traditionally published, and the publisher is like, this is great, but we're only going to allow you to do 2 books of the series, or they're going to do like a wait and see. And then since the first book or 2 doesn't sell well, they just nix the rest of the books. And I didn't want that to happen. So I definitely felt that self-publishing was the right way to go because I had this in my head and I wanted to stick with it. And I didn't want some publisher to be like, this is good, but we want to make, some serious changes to everything.
So, I mean, how much of a, I don't know what the term would be. I don't, it's a tough term. So like someone that would be kind of doing it just for, I don't know, to be able to say they're published by someone, but is there, is it worth that money, or would it be better just to go and get someone who's good at marketing to be able to do it, and probably save money and then not be under all the constraints of a publisher, just to, yeah, be like some sort of I don't know the term of
You know,
uh,
I would say that
a mark.
publishing is a
I don't
really
know.
it's a really personal thing. Like every single author I know has a different journey than me. Even though most of the people I talk with are self-published, we each have our own way of doing things and, who we go through for like printing and distribution, or how we do editing. Some people, like myself, I hired a professional editor. Some people do swaps with friends for editing, so there's all sorts of ways to publish, and each one is kind of just a personal journey, honestly, even though we all have the same end goal.
Yeah,
So there's ways
hopefully.
to save money, if that's a concern. I do
Was money a
think
concern?
sometimes no, luckily for me, I have a very supportive husband who is okay with me spending money to do things as professionally as possible. So,
Okay. I don't know.
yeah.
Was it worth it if you're telling somebody else? Hopefully, or is it, yeah, is it worth it? Is it something that's needed for someone to be able to do it most of the time? Not,
I
there,
would
of course, there's
say
exceptions.
absolutely, there's always exceptions, but I would say, yes, it's absolutely worth the money to hire somebody to professionally edit your manuscript. I thought I had, a pretty clean book, ready to go kind of thing. And then I handed it to my editor. And again, she told me it was pretty clean. But
Yeah.
even with that, there
But
was an awful lot of red on the pages. So, um, it really was kind of eye-opening to me to be like, "Oh, well, here's some things that I didn't really do well." And, you know, what I've taken away from this is every single book she's told me that I've gotten to be a stronger writer. So just getting her feedback on the first book, I was like, "Oh, I shouldn't do this when I'm writing. I should do it this way." And so I changed some of my writing habits to reflect what she wanted in the first book. And so each manuscript has, just continued to get better, I would say, with my writing and everything, and less work for her in the long run.
right. And so then are you using Amazon KDP for your publishing,
I
or
I'm using it for my ebook. I decided to publish wide for my ebooks. So I use KDP, but I'm also through Barnes and Noble, Kobo, um, Drafted Digital, all of those. But I do use KDP for my ebook. I'm using Ingram Spark for my physical copies because they are one of the biggest distribution places for indie authors, and they distribute to Amazon. So, um, and honestly, I did try to use Amazon for one of my paperbacks, and it was Um, it was a nightmare, honestly. It didn't work, and I just gave up, and just yeah, I gave up. So
So then with the distributor, are they print on demand or is it, did you have
yeah,
to buy?
basically.
Okay, that's good. So
Yeah.
like I keep saying, not have, I had an uncle. Thumbs up on that one. For anyone who's listening, sorry. Um, he had a book and it was a book about uh an end of days kind of prophecy kind of
Hmm.
book. And his whole garage was full of that book
Oh my gosh,
for
yes. I
a
have
long
heard
time.
stories.
And
Sometimes there's vanity publishers that like force you to buy boxes of your books, and then that's that, it's all up to you to get rid of them, basically.
right, yeah, and then you're giving them for stocking stuffers for
Yeah.
for 25 years or so, and everyone has your book. And yeah, it's such a good thing, like with that and with with t-shirts and stuff of that nature, all the stuff being print on demand is such a huge bonus. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good to have, so maybe some copies, maybe have like,
Oh, absolutely.
you
I
know,
usually
10,
order a
20.
box. Yeah, I
uh,
order a box at a time, so it's usually between 15 and 20 copies, depending on if it's hardback or paperback, that I have on hand, because I do quite a few in-person sales here and there. Um,
like at a
but yeah,
Barnes and Noble, sitting down, signing
I
autographs
haven't
and
tried
stuff.
Barnes& and Noble, but I so I'm part of an organization called NIWA, which is Northwest Independent Writers Association.
Okay.
And so it's for indie authors in the Pacific Northwest. And they do event booths throughout the event season, where they open it up to the members, and there's like a table fee, usually between $5 and $10 per title.
Oh,
So you
that's not bad
pay,
at all.
yeah, exactly. So you pay the table fee to get your books onto the table for the event, and then you can also sign up to volunteer for the event. And
Okay.
I volunteer a lot because I think it's really fun to meet potential readers and just talk with people who are excited about books. But I also tend to sell quite a few of my own books at those events, more so than if I didn't volunteer. So I like to volunteer because, I make some pretty good money over the summer doing that.
And you probably
Um,
make more personal fans who
yes.
are gonna know you as Rachel. Like, hey, I met Rachel here and she's cool. I'm gonna go and you know, follow her on social media and make sure I
Yeah,
know what's
absolutely.
coming up. I met her. She was a good person to meet, and it's not just someone with a book. I wonder if this person's a dick. I don't know.
Right,
And they
right. I'd like to think I'm
just
not a dick, but yeah.
right, yeah, just right up like, okay, well, I know her. This is a good thing.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, absolutely. So
so
yeah, doing in-person events like that is a great way to meet, future readers, and just I don't like I said, I enjoy talking to people, and especially people that are passionate about reading. So it's really fun.
so what about God, I feel stupid right now. I keep thinking Borders, but it's not Borders. The biggest bookstore in Portland, and I'm
Oh,
blanking.
Powell's.
Pals. Okay,
Yes.
I'm just totally blanking on it. I'm like, what? Why am I thinking Borders? I'm like, what year is this? Borders
Yes,
hasn't been around
RIP
for
Borders.
so
Yeah.
long. So
Um,
Powell's.
I
Do
know
you
that
do
my
stuff with
books are on their website. Honestly, I haven't gone in to talk to them, but yeah, I don't know. I guess, I was really afraid of first publishing my books, and I've gotten past that. And now I'm afraid of going into bookstores and talking to people to try to get them to carry my books. So that's my new fear.
what's the fear?
I'm an introvert, and I'm pretty shy for the most part. So, um, which is funny
on a
because I love doing
podcast,
events and stuff,
and you
and I
go to
love
these
talking to
events.
people. But when it comes to me trying to market my own books, especially in person, I it it I just kind of I don't know. I freeze up sometimes. I don't know. It's hard for me to do. So it's one of the things that I need to work on next. Um
Hypnosis.
yeah.
I know a guy. If you don't want to with me, go online and go to hypnosis for that. If you ever, if you're feeling
Yeah.
it,
I mean, honestly, I can do it. I did talk to Barnes& and Noble once about, like, I was, but they handed me a card and said, "Talk to the manager," and I never did.
they
So
wanted
but I
you
did
to.
it.
They
It
they
was
wanted
just
you to talk to him. They had it
well,
all for you. They're like, "Hey, go talk to him. Here's a card. Go
I think
talk
it was
to
more
him."
like, "Oh, man, another indie author. Here's the manager's card. Go talk to him." So, I don't know. It is a me thing, and it's something that I need to work on definitely.
And you know that it's a
Yeah,
you thing, and that only means the
absolutely.
only person who can make it different would be you.
Exactly.
It's not some external force. It's you. All you have to do is just go out there and do it.
Exactly, and that
It
was the
sounds so
exact
easy.
yeah, I mean, that was exactly my roadblock with publishing my first book. Like, I literally sat on it for years because I was just like, "I know I just need to do these steps, but it's really hard and, it's scary, putting
Yeah,
yourself
how'd
out
that turn
there."
out? How'd that turn out?
Great. I'm super happy. So, I know. See, this
Maybe it
is the
might have,
thing.
and you were right about that one. It seems like you're
Yep,
you're you're already you're
it's
already right
baby
there.
steps. Baby
Yep,
stepping my way there, so
yep. You and Bill Murray, um, and
Yes. What about
uh,
Bob?
what about Bob? Thank you.
Yeah.
My mind's not going today. It's not firing on all the cylinders, I
It's
guess.
Monday.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Monday. I didn't have my coffee before my first call, so
Ah,
I did on this one, but it was a while ago. So,
yeah,
but yeah, baby steps, and so then have you met any other authors along the way that you've kind of thought about, like maybe working with them, or at least like found them to be someone that was enjoyable to talk to, or
absolutely.
interesting to talk to? You don't have to name names if you don't want to, but
Yeah,
I
no,
assume that
I've
it'd
met
probably be a pretty
yeah.
variety of people, pretty big
Well,
variety.
the NIWA group that I'm a part of, I've met quite a few authors through that, both by volunteering with them or online during the meetings. And I've actually become friends with some of them. And then also, another indie author in Milwaukee started what she calls the Scribblers Club, for speculative fiction, so fantasy and sci-fi, and horror. And so she started that beginning of the summer, maybe May of this year, and I started to attend that and gotten to be friends with her as well. And meeting other authors that are in the area. Some of them are already published, some of them are working on their first book, so they're not published yet.
That's
But
exciting.
yeah, just making those connections and I I I do suffer from imposter syndrome pretty badly,
How
which
so?
I know is a very common thing for authors. And part of it is because I have a degree in zoology and I don't have, I took the basic writing classes in college and stuff, but I don't have a degree in English or literature or, anything like that. So I feel like I just basically I didn't wing it. I obviously know what I'm doing, but I didn't take classes or go to college specifically to be an author. So sometimes when I'm around people who did those things, I'm like, yeah, there's just me. Hi, I just decided to randomly be an author. And so sometimes I feel that way when I'm meeting other authors, which again is totally a me problem. And somebody actually told me the other day that it's a good thing that I have imposter syndrome because Usually people who know what they're doing are the only ones that have that. So that was very nice of him to say.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And, and so then with being in Milwaukee, is there any do you guys do stuff with like comic books or is that like a separate thing between novels and comic books with Dark Horse there?
I mean, I don't know anybody who has done anything like that. I've often thought that my books would really be fun to be in graphic novel form.
I mean,
So
Dark
it's,
Horse is
I
right there, right
know,
in downtown
I know.
Milwaukee.
And we also have Things from Another World, which is in downtown Milwaukee.
Yep.
And they sell comic books and graphic novels and everything like that. So,
How's
yeah,
your art?
you
Your
know,
well, as far as not like art in a general form, but
yeah,
art in a making graphic novels form.
I feel like mine wouldn't be strong enough. I am an artist, but I've always had a hard time drawing people, and I never, I don't know, studied like the proper shading and stuff that you usually see in like graphic arts and um so I
Whereas with
don't know.
AI,
It would have to be a huge undertaking for me to do the actual art for my own book. But having said that, it might be something to pursue in the future.
well, I mean, there's AI. You can draw very simple people and make them they'll you can draw basically stick figures and it'll do the make the people look great if that's ever something. Then yeah, I don't know. Like
Yeah,
I've
I
I
don't know. I'm
or
still on the fence about this AI thing, so
yeah, that's something. Yeah, exactly. There's right now it can do most everything. It could do this podcast better than I can do this podcast. So like everything, like all my music, all my podcasts, anything,
right,
right?
right.
Music, writing, writing, and so like
I know,
writing, you don't touch it.
I don't touch AI for
You
my writing, for
okay,
anything, so yeah,
yeah, and yeah, it's interesting with all that and
right.
it's so then okay so then I have questions I usually like to rattle off when I'm
Sure.
talking with other uh, writers. So when you write, are you writing, do you do a an outline or do you sniff a bunch of coke and just go on and on and on like Stephen King and just stop when don't know where you're going and just sort of
Right.
go and then just get to somewhere and that's where you are? Or are you a fill in the blank with the ideas all neatly thought out or somewhere in
Yeah,
between?
definitely not the Coke one,
Okay.
and I don't typically do, like, a really precise outline. Um, I'm kind of probably more on the what they call the pantser side of things versus plotting. But basically, when I have an idea for a book, I usually have the beginning and the ending, and then a couple
That's all you
points in
need.
between.
That's all you
And so
need.
then it's just going from the beginning to the first point and like what happens and whatever happens in between those 2 points, I don't know, like,
You're the
sometimes things
artist.
happen that kinda surprise me, but I just go with it. And while I'm writing and, plodding along through my manuscript, I will sometimes, like, if an idea comes to me for something later on in the story, I will go to a separate Google Doc and, like, write it out real fast, like, "Oh, maybe this happens at this point," and so that it's there. So it's not really an outline per se because I'm kind of still making it up as I go.
Right. Just having those
Um,
little points to be able to put in there when
yeah,
they fit.
yeah,
Okay. I
exactly. And
gotcha.
like, even my chapters are very loosey goosey. I don't think, oh, I want my chapter to start like this and end like this. I just write and then I create a break. Um, and so half the time I don't even like label it as a chapter as such. It's just a break in the story, and it could be the start. It could be where a chapter begins and ends. But I do tend to have some breaks within the chapter as well, a lot of times. So, um, and I am the type that I like to I like to end like half of my chapters kind of on cliffhangers so
So I was
that
just
you
gonna
get to
ask.
it and you're like, I want to see what happens next, kind of
Not
thing. So,
not going to bed yet.
right.
Just one another chapter. I'll be all right.
Yeah.
And then, so the other thing I wanted to ask was, so when you're writing, then are you writing in a journal? Are you writing on a legal pad? Are you writing on your phone, on a bar napkin, on a typewriter, on your computer, on a stone or chisel, or on a
Yeah.
stone with a chisel?
So when I first started years ago, I would do a lot of handwriting. So my first book, Unfamiliar Territory, started out on one of those yellow like
Absolutely. Yep.
pads. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I wrote like the first chapter like that. And a previous book that still hasn't seen the light of day, which I got pretty far on, years ago, I hand wrote most of that one as well. And then I was just like, well, I gotta transfer this to a computer. So transcribing my handwritten notes to the computer was a process in and of itself. So I eventually wised up and decided that that was too much work for me. And so I started typing directly onto my computer, which took some getting used to, honestly. I thought that, typing versus writing would disrupt my flow of creativity. Um, and it might have initially, but then I kind of got used to it and I adapted really easily.
Cool.
So then I just started on my computer, but it was like an actual computer. So it was like in my office. I couldn't go anywhere with it. And that started to stymie me a little bit because I'd be in
Oh,
my bedroom and be like, "Oh, I want to write this scene," and that, but sitting down at my actual computer sometimes wasn't a great spot for me to be writing. So for one of my birthdays, I think it was the birthday after I published my first book, my husband bought me a Chromebook, which is actually what I'm on right now. And that gave me the freedom to write wherever I wanted to. And it's been great. I love it so much. Most of the time, I'm just on my bed with the Chromebook in my lap, typing away. But I've written while I've waited for my kids at school pickup, so just in my car randomly. Yeah, so I can take it wherever I want. It's been great for taking it on, trips like to visit family and stuff. I can sit there
yeah.
and, if I have a spare hour, I can sit there and type away. So, um, I definitely having that freedom to be wherever I want to be in the house to write has really helped me out. So I love having the Chromebook.
So how do you carry it around? Or do you carry it around everywhere, or where don't you
I
carry
don't
it
carry
around?
around everywhere.
Okay.
I'll just grab it if I feel like I need to be working on it still. Um, and just hide it under the seat in my car sometimes if I'm going to be like at the grocery store or something. But for the most part, it stays at home. I don't take it out with me that often.
So I was gonna ask, are there certain places you don't take it?
Yeah, pretty much
Or
everywhere. But like I said, on occasion, if I know that it's going to take a while to pick up my kids, and I have nothing else to do, I'll grab it and work on it in the car. It's a little awkward,
yeah,
but
can be,
I make it
but
work.
it's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so then with back to the legal pad,
Yeah.
are you, where's your perfectionist level? Would that ever be something you would want to go and take those pages directly and put them as they are, just photocopied or whatever, whatever that is, scanned, I
Yeah.
guess now, and
And
made that into a book, putting those all
um,
into a collection like that? Or is that something that you would not want the public to see?
I don't know. I don't think I mean, I'm thinking back to how I wrote it, and it was pretty similar to what ended up on the actual pages of the book. Um, it's chicken scratch. I don't know if anybody would be able to read it, as is, but, writing wise, like the words themselves, I feel are pretty close to what ended up making the cut. And I could totally see like not a blooper reel, but like, hey, this is how it started and this is how it ended, and that kind of thing. So
Because I think that could be pretty inspiring for people who maybe are thinking about writing to be able to see
absolutely.
something like that and not just only seeing the finished product, being able to see
Right.
something along the way.
Yeah.
You know, uh, maybe some if you ever get stuck. Also, if you ever get stuck, if you ever get okay, that's another question. How do you feel about writer's block? Is it a thing?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay. So if you ever get writer's block, uh maybe not me, but some other hypnotist, I have an idea for any author for how to make sure they will have something to write about 100% for sure, seeing vividly what is happening.
Hmm.
Well, so what I do with that, so for there's so past life regression or whatever people may call it is
Mhm.
what I go and I take the people on who get writer's block, and you'll see something 100% for sure that will be mind blowing. So if you ever get into something, and like I said, it doesn't have to be me, but maybe some other hypnotist, tell them you want to do a past life regression. Maybe not even a hypnotist. They have a lot of people who are not hypnotists, but if that's ever something you get stuck and you need something that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
It blew my mind the first time I did it, and that was like one of the first things I thought of was any author would, if they ever get stuck on something and need something to write about, this would be the thing right now.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
Well,
not trying to.
I've had dreams that I swear were past lives, and, very, very vivid, and yeah, so I actually get a lot of my ideas from my dreams, including this series that I'm working on right now. Um,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So, yeah.
are you waking up and writing? Is it like was it Dolly that did that with his paintings? That like
Oh,
he slept terribly and like he would wake up at weird times and start painting. So like he was still like kind of in that sleep state. And so
right.
that's why his
No,
stuff was kind of wacky
I
or you
don't.
just guess.
I just, I value my sleep too much, so I usually wake up and then go right back to bed. But a lot of times when these specific dreams happen, they really stick with me even the next morning.
Oh wow, okay.
Um, and if that's the case, because sometimes I'll wake up and be like, "Oh, that's a really good idea for a book," and then I fall asleep, and then I wake up again. I'm like, I don't really remember what happened, and now that I'm thinking about it, that probably wasn't the greatest idea. But other times, I wake up, fall back asleep, wake up again, and I'm still just like, "Yes, this is happening." So, unfamiliar territory was one of those moments, and in fact, it was just a scene, a single scene, and I built this 4-book series around it. Don't ask me how I did that. But the scene does make it into the first book, or at least, most of the
Okay.
scene does. Um, and yeah, so I do have these very vivid dreams sometimes, and I will wake up and be like, "Okay, this is an idea. Like I can roll with this." And obviously things change along the way. Um, but it definitely was inspired by one of my dreams. So,
Okay. Well, cool. Well, that's a good way to do it. What was the scene? Or is that pivotal points in the
so
story that cannot be
no, it's okay.
said?
Basically, I was my main character, although she wasn't a main character yet. And I was in an abandoned building. And in my dream, it was like a gas station in the middle of the woods, but I changed it into an old school for the book. And I went into the bathroom and there was this girl in there and she was like kind of upset. And I went to comfort her and she got mad at me. And then all of a sudden she changed into this giant werewolf and like just started like trashing the bathroom. And so I got out of there by turning into a cat and finding this large black dog in the woods, and I was like, "There's a werewolf in the bathroom," and he's like, "Oh, show me." And so I took him back, and he's like, "That's not a werewolf. That's a girl." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So that was basically my dream. And from that, I created my main character, and the black dog is in there. He's her business partner. She herself is a bounty hunter who specializes in supernatural creatures. So I basically built this idea all around this one scene, and yeah.
Cat the bounty hunter, like Dog the bounty hunter. Uh,
Never made that connection, but
and then, so one more thing I was going to ask about that. So the part about the cat, was that with your kid? So with the character, are you having like where do you like really know, like if the cat is in any situation, can you tell what the cat would do in any situation, as far as like the guy who taught me about character development in wrestling told me, he said, the way you can tell you know your character is if your character goes into a restaurant like McDonald's and orders something and they screw up the order, and you know what that character is going to do, how the character is going to react when they find out the order is messed up. Uh, is that something that you could figure out with how your character would act in that
oh yeah.
situation, or do you?
I mean, she definitely lives in my mind, and she's similar to me in some ways, but really different from me in others. So yeah, I could totally see how she would react. And as you know, her story progresses, I do have those kinds of scenarios where I'm just like, okay, how would she act? You know, how would she react to this happening? And on occasion, she surprises me a little bit. But for the most part, I'm just like, yeah, this seems like something that she would do. So, yeah, absolutely. You know, she's a little brash. She's very like where I'm shy. She's just like, here I am, but also she has that insecurity deep inside. So it's a lot of an act for
Gotta
her.
have that. Yeah.
She has a job that she's the only female in the area. Like everybody else, it's a man's job, you know, and she has a lot to prove to be accepted. So she does have to kind of put on this tough guy act, even though she's like 5'3" and tiny. Um, and that really does kind of shape some of her interactions. And it depends on who she's talking to as well. Like if it's a stranger, she's going to be that tough person. But if it's somebody she knows, she has that softer, more insecure side to her. So,
Yeah. Okay. And so where are, so you said you people can find your book in a lot of different places, or not book books
yes,
plural,
I have
books
3 right
plural.
now. I'm working on the 4th and last one in the series right now, and I'm hoping to have that out early 2024. But
You know the ending?
I have my own website where you can find all of my books, and that's www.rlindsaycarter.com. And that's Lindsay with an AY, not an EY, because that's how my parents spelled it.
Forgot those EY. Lindsay with an EY. No, not good.
It's the more
They're,
common spelling, though, so sometimes
they're,
that trips people
yeah,
up.
they're like the Sarah with SARAs and not SARAHs.
Right, exactly.
Look
So,
into that. Think about that one.
yeah.
That with the
Oh,
Sarahs,
there's
you know.
totally a difference. I mean, um, like we when we were trying to figure out names for our second daughter, and we thought about Nora, but both of us agreed that we wanted it with an H on the end instead of just the A. We didn't end up going with that name, but it was important to us. So yeah, I totally get those little tiny distinctions. They make a difference. But yes, Rach, our Lindsay Carter .com. And that has links to my books. It has links to all of my social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram and Threads now. Not that I've done much with Threads, but and then I'm also on TikTok if people like to see me talking in front of a camera.
What do you do on TikTok?
I do, I don't know, a wide variety of stuff. A
Okay.
lot of it
I
is
like
book related, but sometimes I'll give updates on what I'm doing. Sometimes I will show my book more, so market my book as much as possible. Sometimes I'm goofy, sometimes I'm more serious. I'm just all over the place with TikTok, so
as TikTok is.
yes.
And so do you know how your book the series is ending? You don't
Yes,
e-
yeah,
don't
I
tell me
do.
that's
I'm
but
not gonna
yeah,
say
okay.
anything, I don't wanna ruin
Okay.
anything, but
You know how it
it
is.
is
You know
fully
the ending.
written. I am self-editing right now, and I'm planning on giving it to my editor in November. So
Oh, okay.
it's
Pretty soon.
finished-ish, but
It
yeah, it still needs some fine-tuning.
Excellent. Okay. Well, hey, well, Rachel, thank you for being on here. I very much enjoyed talking with you and
Yeah, thank you so much for having
yeah,
me. This has been a
more.
blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise. And hope you have a great rest of your day. All right. We'll stay in
Awesome.
touch. All
Thank
right.
you.
You
Thank you
bet.
so much.
Oh, now I messed it up. Now it's gonna be awkward. Awkward second goodbye. All right. See ya. All right, that's Rachel Carter. Check her out. Read her books. You guys or read books. Read her books. She's got some. She's got 3 out already. There's gonna be a 4th, so you can have time to get caught up. So get reading. Get reading. And you guys, thank you for listening to the show, the Public Access Podcast on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN. And that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Ernest! Ernest! Ernest!
Yes, Pee-wee.
You brought the snacks, right?